What's up, guys? Welcome to Elite Performance with Dr. Brad. Yes, this is another episode that is going to bless you. Today, we are talking about inaction, how to overcome not taking action. I think we're all guilty of that at some point. If this is something that you're dealing with, there's a bit, particularly we're going to be talking about business, something related to business or career that you know there are some actions that you need to be taking, but you're just not taking them. Well, then today's episode is for you. We're going to talk about how to overcome this inaction so that you can go do what you have to do, bless the people that you need to bless, and ultimately fulfill your potential and experience fulfillment in going after that thing that you desire to achieve. But unfortunately, many of us have to get over this inaction. And so we're going to be talking about that today. Again, make sure you share this information with someone else. If you are watching this on YouTube, make sure you share this video with someone else. If you are listening, I definitely urge you to, if you're not already subscribed to the podcast, subscribe to the podcast, and then tell someone else. Share this episode with someone else so that it doesn't just bless you, but it goes beyond you, that the blessing goes beyond you. You know, I got to do the alliteration thing. So again, I'm your host, Dr. Brad, performance coach. And again, the reason why I'm talking about this is because this is something that recently I've been trying to figure out, like, why am I not taking action? The challenge that we're talking about today is inaction. Okay. And this applies to business. We're going to be talking primarily about business or career, but this can apply to, your health, not taking action on getting in shape. This could, easily be applicable to relationships, not taking action and doing something in terms of being able to reconcile a relationship or take a relationship to the next level. But anything that you're not taking action on. But today we're particularly going to be talking about business, and it's that not taking action on whatever that thing is. Not taking action on the business that you want to start, not taking action in writing the business plan, not taking action in starting the LLC, not taking action in meeting with. Setting up a meeting with someone, not taking action in making the calls, not taking action in you name it. But there is an action right now. I'm sure you could probably think about something right now that you aspire to achieve, that there's a level of inaction. There's a level of action that is just not taking place. And ultimately, check this out. You know what I'm talking about. When you don't take the action, you feel guilty. You feel guilty. You feel slowed down. Real talk, you start feeling like a failure. Like, man, I'm not taking action. Sometimes you don't even want to think about it, right? Like, you know what? I'd rather go do something else right now. Just kind of take my mind off the fact that I didn't take action. But there's action that you have to take. And right now, you may not be taking it. You may have heard me reference this before. I did an interview with someone who said that they weren't an inspirational speaker. They were an irritational speaker. Today's episode is meant to irritate you a little bit so that you take action. But we got to understand why we don't take action, right? One of the other feelings that we feel is like it's this lack of self-integrity because we didn't show up like we know we should have. So there's this feeling of a lack of self-integrity. We get all these feelings whenever we don't take action. See, here's what happened to me recently. So I'm working on a new project, and just a heads up for those of you who listen to the podcast and share the podcast, I appreciate it. I have an opportunity to work on something new, particularly with other physicians. So I'm going to be working on a project helping to coach physicians to be able to really discover and pursue their purpose so they can live and experience greater impact, greater income, and greater influence it's kind of been my story, and so I want to help these physicians who may be feeling like I did in the past, kind of feeling stuck and so forth, and being able to just live better, be better, start walking in purpose, and live a life of purpose and peak performance specifically for physicians. I say that to say that the content on this podcast may be kind of slowing down. However, there's so much information on this podcast that's good that you can listen to these podcast episodes. I forget how many I've got, 50 something, almost 60 episodes. You can listen to these over and over and over and continue to get blessed. I say all that just to say, the content on this specific podcast may be kind of slowing down. But back to the story, which is this. I'm working on this project, and I started realizing, like, why am I not taking action? Like, writing out the plan, putting out some content, right? Like there were things that I had on my list of things to do as the next step to take, but I wasn't taking action on it. And I was trying to figure out, why am I not moving? Like, why am I not just showing up and taking action? I'm trying to distract myself with something else, and I'm not showing, and I'm not taking action. And I'm feeling all the stuff we talked about before. I feel guilty. I'm feeling slowed down. I'm like a failure. I'm like, dude, I'm not holding up my end of the bargain to get this done. So it made me think, like, why am I not taking action? And what I realized is that typically this is how we look at the situation of not taking action. Is that we look at it from this perspective, that if we make a decision that ultimately, like if we make a decision to take a certain action, write the business plan, start the LLC, whatever the case may be, and that action doesn't end up in a way that we consider to be favorable for us, then we consider it a mistake. So say I started, making some content in this new project, and it's just not getting well received, or whatever the case may be. I may look at that as a mistake. Okay. So that's part of the way we look at it. And the reality is that not necessarily, right? Because it wasn't as favorable as I want, because it may not be as favorable as you want when you take that action, does not necessarily mean it is a mistake. Okay. The other thing is that we assume that if we make a mistake, right? If we make, kind of label it as a wrong turn. And I'm gonna bring back this idea of a wrong turn here in a minute, but we assume that if we do make a mistake, that it's going to be significant enough, that this mistake is going to be significant enough to slow us down and ultimately prevent our success. So in essence, what we're dealing with when it's this inaction is ultimately a fear of failure. It is a fear that whatever I do is going to contribute to failure. That is how we think. That's really what's happening. It's a fear of failure. It's a fear of making a mistake. And that's how we think. However, this is what I realized. This is what's really going on. Yes, it's a fear of failure, but really what it is a lack of faith that we will actually achieve the end outcome that we want. So yes, it is a fear of failure, but it really, at the root of it, it's a lack of actual faith in the desired end outcome that we want. See, we lack faith in the end, which prevents us from even getting started. Because the reality is this: if you knew beyond a shadow of a doubt that you could not fail, if it was a guarantee that whatever thing you're taking action on, the end result of it leads to success, and it leads to exactly what you want. If me taking action on this new project if I knew it ends in blessing a whole bunch of physicians, right? And ended up as being a successful project, well, then it doesn't really matter what step is taken anyway, does it? See, when you believe beyond the shadow of a doubt of the end, it makes it much easier to start in the beginning because there's no question. It doesn't really matter where you go. Faith in the end leads to confidence getting started in the beginning, right? If you believe in the end, beyond a shadow of a doubt, it doesn't really matter what step you take. Think about it this way. If I get in my car or you get in your car to go to work, assuming you go to work and you don't work from home, and you could be going anywhere really, but you get in that car knowing that you're going to get to where you have to go. If you got to go to the store, there's not a question of whether you get there, which is why it's not hard to get in the car and go. Even if you made a wrong turn, even if there was construction along the way, there's still no question that you get there. There is full faith and confidence in getting there in the end, which is what allows you to have confidence in taking the first step anyway, even if that step may be, quote unquote, a wrong turn. Question is really, is it a wrong turn if I went left instead of going right, but I still ended up where I needed to be? The reality is just part of the process. So the only step, because oftentimes we're thinking, well, what's the best next step to take? And that's what I was thinking. I'm getting frozen and in action thinking, well, what's the best next step to take? Do I do this? Do I write the plan? Do I make the content? Do I talk to this person? Do I do that? Right? And all leading to inaction because it's a fear of failure. Right? But if that's the case, and if I'm sitting here thinking, what's the best next step to take? What's the right step to take? Then the question is it's not a matter of, is it the right step to take? It really is a matter of, as long as you take a step, it's right. It's not what's the right next step. It's taking a step, because the only step that is wrong is the step not taken. Assuming that the end is guaranteed, the first step you take now doesn't matter as much. So it's not about what's the right next step so much as it is about the only right, the right step being taken is just taking the step. The only wrong step taken is the one not taken. Right? And then so I want you to think about it this way, and you may have experienced this. Have you ever been at a red light, and at the red light or at the stop sign, or you could be at a gas station, it doesn't matter, but you're stopped, and you put in the GPS on your phone and an address that you're trying to get to, or a place that you're trying to get to. So you have defined the end destination in the GPS and put it as the place that you're going to. I want you to follow me here. So in your phone now is the end, and it is giving you directions on how to get there. And sometimes if you are standing still, if you are still in the car at the stop sign, it's difficult to know whether you take a left or a right with the directions that it's giving you. You kind of have to start moving first to see, am I going the direction of what it's telling me? And sometimes you may make the left turn, but you were actually supposed to make a right turn, but you didn't really know because you were standing still. You weren't moving. So it's difficult to tell whether you had to make the left or the right. Well, there's times when I've made the right turn and I was supposed to make a left turn. However, here's the deal. Even if I made the right turn, guess what it tells me? You need to redirect and go back the other way. So the question really becomes, was the right turn the wrong turn? If I still made it to my place? See, what if the thing that you got to do to take that first step may go in the opposite direction, but it's part of your journey anyway. See, instead of looking at it as a wrong turn, it was just part of my journey to make the right, make the U-turn, and then make the left and get to the end destination that I knew I was going to go to anyway. See, the reason why we don't stay at the stop sign when we put the GPS, when we put in GPS, is because we know we're going to get there. So we start moving. Yes, it may have taken me a little longer because I made the wrong, because I made a decision to go in a direction that it didn't necessarily say, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's the wrong turn. It means that it's just part of my journey. But guess what? Here's the deal. The end doesn't change. The end doesn't change. See, I had confidence in the end, which is why I started driving anyway. And the end, here's what you got to understand. Your end of that goal of what you're going for must be inevitable. So here are the questions you really need to ask. You see, if you're suffering from inaction, the question isn't, what is the right next step to take? The question is, do I really believe in the desired end? Do I really have faith in the success of this venture? Do I really believe achievement is inevitable? Not what's the best next step to take. Sure, that's part of the question, but if it's leading to paralysis because of overanalysis, the question is not necessarily what's the right next step to take. The question is, do I really believe in the desired end? Do I really believe this is going to happen? An even bigger question in tandem with that question is, do you believe in a God big enough that no matter what decision you make, even if it is a mistake, he can help you get back on track and redirect you like a GPS to get you to the desired end anyway? See, we think we're doing it all. And that every single decision, this whole thing is up to me, that every single decision. The reality is, you probably will make a mistake. The first step may not work out the way you want. But do you believe in a God big enough that despite your mistake, you can be redirected on the right path and the right track to continue to go? So it's not all up to you. You're going to be all right. And it's the same conclusion I came to. Guess what? Is that I'm going to be all right no matter what step I take. But every minute, every day that I'm deciding not to take action, that's the wrong step, because there's no step being taken. So guess what? I'm going to give you the 3 things that you got to do to take the best next step, to start taking action. Now that you know it's not that it's yes, it's a fear of failure, but ultimately it's a lack of faith in the end. So the steps that you need to take action immediately, number 1, is you got to increase your belief in the end result. You have to increase your belief. You have to understand. You have to have a greater faith in the end. You got to have a greater confidence for the thing hoped for. You got to have evidence in your mind of the thing not seen. And know that it is inevitable, that there is an inevitability to it, which gives you the confidence to take a step, to take the step. The best next step is the step taken next, because you know the end is inevitable. You got to increase your faith. You got to know that you know that you know. These are the steps that I took. I was like, you know what, dude, this is a lack of faith. You know what? This thing is done. It's done. That's all I kept saying. I was like, dude, it's done. Let's go. what would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? You'd move, and you'd keep moving despite the circumstances. So you gotta increase the belief in the end result. Next thing you gotta do some research. Make a plan. Make a plan. See, I'm not telling you don't have a plan and just start taking, random action. I'm not telling you don't do that. I mean, you want to try to be as smart as you can about it, but the reality is it's probably not going to go fully according to your plan. It's not guaranteed that when you get in that car to get to your end destination that every turn is going to happen the way it's going to happen. It ain't guaranteed. And oftentimes it doesn't, because there's an accident, there's construction, there's weather, there's stuff that you won't account for. But guess what? You believe so much in that desired end that you get there. So get the faith, make a plan, which is like mapping it out like a GPS, best you can. Like, okay, I got to take this step. Next thing I do is this. Next thing I do is this. And then the third thing is take the step. Take a step. But take that step without worrying about the end outcome, because it's already done. Just know that whatever happens is just part of the journey. And that therefore it isn't really a wrong step taken. Therefore, it isn't really a wrong step taken. See, I'm a big Marvel comic fan. Oh man, I'm a big Marvel comic fan. And if you watched Avengers Infinity War and Endgame, there becomes a moment when Thanos, who's the big villain in that movie, he is trying to eliminate half of the population on Earth. And he has to collect all of these stones in order to be able to do this. And all of the Avengers, the superheroes, are trying to stop him from doing this. Well, one of the Avengers, named Doctor Strange, has one of the stones that Thanos, the villain, needs in order to destroy half of the Earth's population. And at one point, he basically gives Thanos the stone. He allows him to have that stone, so that, in essence, now Thanos can eliminate half of the population. Ultimately, what ends up happening is he does wipe out half of the population. But as the movie continues, as the sequel continues in the end game, they are able to go back in time and ultimately defeat Thanos. Everything's great. All the people who were eliminated from the population come back, and they talk to Doctor Strange about what happened when he gave Thanos the stone. And he said it was the only way. The interesting thing about Doctor Strange is this: he can almost see, like, through time and consider all the different possibilities of what can happen as a result of a certain action. So he considered the billion possibilities of what could happen if he did or did not give Thanos the stone. And he figured out that the only way they would ultimately win in the end and achieve their goal of saving the Earth was that he gave him the stone. Now, at that time, everybody thought it was a mistake. Gave him the stone. Gave him the stone. But see, here's what Dr. Strange knew, is that ultimately it was the only thing, it was the only way, it was the only path to success at the end. It was the only way. It was the only real thing that gave him a shot, ultimately, is that it seemed that a mistake was made at that time, but ultimately turned into success in the end. So here's what I'm trying to tell you: no matter what decision you make, even if you think it may be a mistake, it was probably the only way. and just part of your journey to get to the end. Again, elevate your faith. Just know that it's done. Just know it's done. Do some research, make a plan, and then take a step in confidence, knowing that no matter what happens as a result of that step, ultimately, it's done. And it's just part of the process. It's part of the plan. It's part of the journey. All right. As always, I hope this blessed you. Again, share this with someone else. Again, my content might be changing here a little bit, guys. I love doing this. I love blessing you guys, but hopefully you understand there's an opportunity for me to be able to help some physicians here in the future. And hey, docs, listen, if you're listening to this, awesome. I'll continue to bless you. It'll just be in another platform specifically for us physicians. But anyway, obviously, like I said, I'll let you guys know more as we continue. But again, thank you for listening. And hope you have a blessed week. Talk to you soon. Peace.